the context and the practice of medicine just seems to be accelerating.
The hustle and bustle of residency training, it's quite a fast pace and it's very grueling.
It is a relentless exposure to suffering.
And the numbers of things competing for our attention is just incredible.
There's not much time to reflect on how the process is shaping you and impacting you, as well as reflecting on the sort of impact that you're having on your patients.
No matter what happens to you or to your patients or anything like that, that you're not allowed to sort of even have an emotion, let alone express it.
That can create a situation in which you are the opposite of mindful, mindless.
Burnout is a systems problem, and our program offers real skills that can be used at every level, not only to build individual resilience, but to change the system through awareness building at every level, from leadership down to the rank and file.
Think of a time when you experienced a conflict with a patient or a colleague.
The cost of a mindfulness program or other programs to try to mitigate burnout is incredibly inexpensive. So if you're trying to make a business case, take a good hard look at what burnout and errors are costing your institution. We teach doctors to meditate, and even if it's just for 30 seconds or just for 3 seconds, taking a breath between patients, but to really recalibrate their inner lives and be more aware.
Practices themselves, the formal meditation practices, are not about actually getting good at them. They're like exercises. They're like, if you're trying to become more fit, you would go to the gym, you may run on the treadmill, you may lift weights. Not because you want to get good at running on a treadmill or lift weights, but because you want to improve your overall well-being so that you can live your life in a more healthy way. The actual meditation is actually the work that we do from moment to moment, whether it's with our family at home, whether it's in the exam room with our patients, whether it's talking about cases with our colleagues. And the formal practices are merely exercises to improve our ability to be present, to understand the thought drivers, the emotion drivers, and the physical sensation drivers of our behaviors, our decision making, how we relate to our patients, how we relate to our colleagues. Choose who will be taking the hit first, and just do it, and then stop and talk about what was that like for you, and then switch.
It is immersive, so you are going to be getting a good dose of skills, but it also builds in the reality of how are you going to put this into your day-to-day.
Can you imagine a conflict or a situation in which it was unexpected?
I think people can come from this and make choices about, I could incorporate this exercise or that exercise and put it right into their day-to-day practice. This is how you might get yourself ready from a tough encounter to the next, as well as this is how you might construct a program that would create this for medical students.
Put your own oxygen mask on and then go with the flow.
It's a retreat that we're staying overnight and you're here for a few days. I think that actually enhances the experience because that really separates you from all the work stuff.
By doing this over the course of a couple of days, it really allows you to slow down.
It's really peaceful and calming and allows you to sort of really find that sense within yourself.
Everything you have is there to be lost,
Yeah.
which points then to making the most of the moments while it's there.
Yeah.
The ambiance that was created was one of tremendous support and kindness. So quite often in the arenas that we work, it's high intensity. There's not a lot of room or space for any of this.
It's very nourishing. There are experiences that we share and traumas that we experience that I think by the commonality of our experiences, it's a little bit easier to have certain conversations that you can take for granted that a certain context already exists.
If we talked about the impact of losing a patient, we didn't have to explain it. So it's your people, right?
The core of medicine is human understanding. Without that, we don't have anything. We'll ask people to write a story about a meaningful experience, or when they were involved in a medical error, or when there was a conflict. and share that story in a very structured way, in which their partner is instructed in how to listen deeply.
The three things that we talked about were aging, illness, and death.
When we've been practicing listening deeply, what we're really practicing is letting go of our own agenda in the interest of creating a crucible for someone else to speak their truth. Right?
People get a sense of what it's like to be listened to in this way, and the power of having been listened to, and the power also of the ability to tell stories about important, formative events in one's career that often are never discussed.
Sometimes you need to speak truths that are very painful, but that doesn't mean that they're not useful and appropriate.
There's a lot of power in telling your own story, and that's so much of what we've been doing here at this retreat is, strangers sharing their own stories, and then something magical happening where you feel like you're no longer strangers.
Hearing your story opening to my own, I feel a little bit stronger. Loss and fear, it doesn't make them better. I feel a little bit more spacious, like I could tolerate more.
It's a safe environment, and it's the brilliant thing about it is we've all lived these experiences, and the great thing here is no one's judging you.
It's rather delightful to see what happens when you kind of cut away the small talk and let your walls sort of melt away so that you can really have meaningful engagement with others, meaningful conversation.
It allows me, I think, to embrace more of this human kind of vulnerability in a way that feels very courageous. So I see it now as more of a strength as opposed to something that I kind of need to protect myself from.
It does create this camaraderie and friendship and community which is so supportive and sustaining.
We have to figure out a way through cultivating community to make the culture reflect the sort of humanness that we carry and that we want to see injected back into medicine so that our patients can benefit and so that we as providers can continue to do this work.
The skills I got here were little things I could do in my day-to-day work life, which I can see helping me in the future. I can sort of really see how they fit.
In many clinical situations, it can be really anxiety-provoking, or you can be kind of on high alert. So if you're able to practice kind of just slightly slowing down, just becoming a little bit more aware of what's happening on the inside, then I think that enables me to actually engage in a different way, a way that's actually a little clearer. And I think really through mindful practice, that's actually, it's helped me to be a better physician.